Hey guys, today we will be building this outdoor chair. On these plans on annawhite.com. Here it is. I have it out here drying. Of course, it fits a 25 by 25 inch cushion and some pillows. I'm gonna keep it out here by the fire pit. All in all, it took about four and a half hours to put together, cut, paint. I used a darker gel stain. All right, let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notifications if you want to see more videos. I'll be putting new videos up every Sunday. Step 1, you're going to make all your cuts. I have a list here on screen, and I also have a list down below. I'm using a miter saw. You can use a circular saw, even a hand saw, but it would take a while. I got a tape measure and a speed square to mark. The second to last cut calls for two 2x2s for the cleats to hold the slats up. I ended up just cutting my 2x4 to 25.5 inches and then using the table saw to cut it right down the middle. Next, we're going to assemble the parts together. Here we have all the parts laid out according to size. For this part, I used a hammer, two drills, one for the screws and one to make holes, pre-drilled holes. I have a 1/16 inch drill bit on the drill. I also use 3-inch decking screws to put it all together. Starting with two of the 22.25 inch pieces for the legs and one of the 2x6 by 28.5 inch. Then I'm taking a scrap piece of wood, 3/4 inch thick, and using it between the 2x6 pieces so that the distance is the same as we put the legs together. Once those are done, we take the 31.5 inch pieces for the top armrests and we pre-drill the holes and then we screw them on. Then we take both legs and using another scrap piece of wood, 3/4 of an inch thick, place it between both of the legs to hold it together and put the 2x6 by 28.5, screw it in using the decking screws. For the bottom piece, I just flipped it upside down so that I could still use that scrap wood to keep the same distance. And I went ahead and did the bottom back piece and now the bottom front piece. Then we flipped it back over and installed the 2x4 slat, doing the same thing using the scrap wood. Next we installed the back top piece that measured 25 inches. Again, pre-drilling the holes and then driving the screws in. So I didn't realize, but I forgot to record when I installed the cleat. So the cleat I installed flush with the bottom of the 2x4 and screwed into that middle 2x6 on each arm, and then screwed the seat slats onto the cleat. So here's the finished chair with the cleats attached and the seat slats attached. Step 3, we're going to sand all the rough edges. I started with a power sander, but I ended up switching over to a sanding block, which was just an old scrap piece of wood and a piece of sandpaper wrapped around it. Found it easier and better to remove the markings on some of the wood. I also sanded down all the corners of the 2x4s where we made the cuts. Step 4, we're staining. I like to use gel stain just because it's less drippy and less messy than regular stain. It's made for vertical surfaces so it doesn't drip and spill everywhere when you're using it and working with it. That's why I prefer that. And I went with a darker stain color, but you can pick out any color that you want. So for this chair, I just used rags. I was dipping them into the gel stain and just rubbing them on the wood. I couldn't find a brush, but it is a lot easier with a brush. I did use a brush on a couple other projects that I did after this, and it went a lot faster and a lot smoother. And with this stain, the longer you leave it, the darker that it gets. So if you want really light where you can see the wood grain, then go in smaller areas, put it on, and then wipe it off faster. If you want to let it sit longer and for it to be darker. Okay, and here's the first coat. Since I was using just the rags and not a brush, there were still some hard to reach areas that I'll be going back with the brush to fill those in later. And here's a picture of the final product. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and like if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And we do put new videos out every Sunday.